So how can Bernie Sanders come back? He is here now to tell us. Senator Sanders, thank you for joining us this morning. And you were admirably candid last Saturday after South Carolina. You said you got decimated. What's your take on last night?
Well, I think we did great overall yesterday. We won, as you mentioned, by over 2-1 in Kansas. We did very well in Nebraska. There's going to be a caucus in Maine, and if the turnout is high, I think we're going to win there. That would mean that we'd have won 8 primaries and caucuses. And what impresses me very much, George, and it's what I mean when I talk about a political revolution, in Kansas, they had the largest voter turnout in their caucus history. That was the case in Colorado, where we won as well. In fact, in every primary and caucus that we have won by double-digit numbers, and we're winning all across the country. But so I think geographically, we're looking good. I think we have a path toward victory.
You've still got that demographic problem, though. You've still got that face. You're winning in these states that are overwhelmingly white, like Kansas and Nebraska. Any state that has more than about 10% African-American vote, she's killing you.
Well, I think you're going to see those numbers change as well. And what we are noticing, and this is very interesting, it's not just racial, it's more generational. We are doing better and better with young African Americans, young Latinos, and young whites. And in fact, in many instances, we are winning those demographics. With the older people, we're not doing as well. And that's something that we're going to have to work on. But I think here in Michigan, where there is a caucus coming up, where there's a primary coming up on Tuesday, I think the issues of trade, where NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations have decimated communities all over Michigan, all over Illinois, all over Ohio. I have helped lead the opposition to these disastrous trade agreements. Secretary Clinton, by and large, has supported them all. I think that's going to give us a lot of momentum here in the Midwest.
Yeah, in fact, you put out a tweet this week, and I want to put that up on the board right now. It says, the people of Detroit know the real cost of Hillary Clinton's free trade policies. It shows those abandoned buildings, those abandoned homes in downtown Detroit. Is that really fair, though? I mean, Detroit has been hollowed out since the race riots in 1968.
Well, what is fair, George, and honestly, I didn't know this until a week ago, that in 1960, it turns out Detroit was one of the wealthiest cities in America. Flint, Michigan, which today is mired in terrible poverty, was an extremely prosperous city. There is no doubt, I don't think anyone debates this, that these disastrous trade policies, NAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, have cost this country millions of decent-paying jobs and resulted in a race to the bottom where many of the new jobs being created pay significantly less than those jobs used to pay years ago. That is the result of a disastrous trade policy. I'm not going to say it is the only problem that Detroit or Flint has, but it is a significant part of the decline of many, many communities in America. Companies shut down in this country. They go to China, they go to Mexico, pay people low wages, bring their products back into the United States. Very bad policies for the American worker.
At the same time, there's a new poll out this morning in Michigan, the NBC Marist poll, which still shows you pretty far back, 57 to 40. That's a lot of ground to make up in just a few days.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing about these polls, George. And we started this campaign, as you well know, at 3% in the polls, 3%. We have come a very, very long way, closing the gap nationally with Secretary Clinton. I'm very proud that in many of these matchups that take place, Sanders versus Trump, Clinton versus Trump, you know who's doing better against Trump? Bernie Sanders is. And in almost every state that we have contested, we start off in Iowa, we started off 50 points behind. New Hampshire, 30 points behind. One New Hampshire tied in Iowa. We are closing the gap here in Michigan, and I think we're going to surprise people on election night.
But as you know, the delegate math is working against you. Democrats have proportional representation. She now has about a 200 delegate lead. That's bigger than any lead at this point than Barack Obama had over Hillary Clinton back in 2008. So don't you have to do something brand new to try to change the dynamic? You'd have to win by massive numbers in just about every state.
Well, here's what I think. You're right. I mean, your numbers are correct. But, you know, we're still fairly early in the process. I think there's maybe 18, 19 states that have voted. We think we have an excellent chance to do well out on the West Coast in California, state of Washington, Oregon. We think we have an excellent chance to do well in large states like New York. We think we're going to surprise people here in Michigan. So I think that time is on our side, because the more people get to hear our message, and that message is that we need to reform a corrupt campaign finance system in which billionaires and super PACs are buying elections. Look, one of the key differences between Secretary Clinton and I, she has a super PAC, millions of dollars from Wall Street are coming in to her campaign. We have raised, George, almost 5 million individual contributions, averaging $27 apiece. People appreciate that. They're tired of super PACs buying elections. So I think we have momentum on our side. More people hear our message, the better we are going to do.
Senator Sanders, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.